I would like to welcome Dr. Kishori.
Thank you so much.
I hope everyone is not bored.
Welcome all. Whenever I'm like love perio rather than other dentistry, I love to do perio. I know the perio bit awareness is very less. I just want my motto is to increase the awareness in perio. So today's my session will be on crown lengthening procedure. Before that, there will be a failure and success. It all depend on us. How we build is our career, we will develop the same. Like that, in perio also, there are many things which is unaware. So if you want to try that, you'll get a success, you'll get more patients from the perio, and so. And I welcome you all, and I'm very glad to join me for this session. Myself, as Dr. Nirigna already said, and Dr. Kishori. Now I stay at Mumbai, that is Vasai. And already she has given introduction, so I don't want to go much deep into it. My topic is raising the standard. See, now when you see the crown lengthening, it is not just crown lengthening. There is lot of things which should be understood in depth. Okay, or like when you see that if you want to do a crown lengthening, I see that if you take a laser, electrocautery, and just do the sculpting, is that okay? No, it is not actually okay. You need to do a lot of mind work behind doing that, what actually we want to say. So crown lengthening is one thing, it is a minor surgical procedure. If you get mastered, it's not only a periodontist who need to be getting mastered, but if at all you get mastered in this simple technique, you will give your patient a fabulous result, that I can assure. So before that, you should know what actually is crown lengthening, what are the theoretical aspects, how to implement the practical things into it. So once anything related to perio, then you all had get screen, what, when, how to diagnose, and many things. So first, today I'm focusing on crown lengthening. So I'll be detailedly speaking about the crown lengthening. Now, as I said, it is not just a gum sculpting. There is some standard protocol behind doing this. Now, first, let us come one by one. When to do crown lengthening? Yeah, you got the same question. Is it necessary? What is this CLP? CLP is nothing but crown lengthening procedure. It's okay if you tap like that, or you need to do crown lengthening, right? You have this question. What does it need? There is a tooth. Okay, little tooth, build a composite and give a crown. Is this okay? Again, this is a big question. Can we do this? If you are doing for a crown lengthening, okay, you call or you do, how long can't we place the restoration? Is another big question. Now, the main everything is here is, can a general dentist do or only a periodontist can do? See, anything is not possible. I am possible is possible to everyone. If you make I am possible, then you can do it. Okay? When you have a knowledge, you have an experience, you have a skill, then nothing can avoid you doing anything. Again, the last, implant or a natural tooth. Obviously, implant, okay, fine, but not implant. Not everyone can afford for an implant. I agree that implant is one which is good, but I believe whatever we have to in the tooth, it's a natural is always a natural, and artificial is always a artificial. You can't replace it. So I think you all of you have the same question, when and all, right? Now, when you have this in mind, all these questions, what is crown lengthening, when to do, can we place the crown or not, can we do implant, or we should save the teeth, or we should extract the teeth, can I do, or I should call a consultant, how to learn the procedure and all, right? And today, explaining in very simple terms, I just don't want to go in a very hyphen to technique. First, the basic part I will explain you. Then later on, we will, at least once you get an idea what is basic CLP, then it will be sure that you will go in detail, you will understand it more nicely. Okay, now all your minds were full of questions. Yes, you also find these questions. I know it, right? So what? Chalo, let's have a look to solve your all questions. What is crown lengthening? Now, it is nothing but just a simple surgical procedure for to enhance your crown length. You can see here, just by just sculpting your gingiva, you have a beautiful aesthetic smile. Now, before going to crown lengthening in detail, I want to explain a few basic terminologies, things you should understand for the CLP. I'll be using the term CLP, crown lengthening procedure. Now, before you tell the crown lengthening, what is crown? Clinical crown. Clinical crown is nothing but the crown which is visible from the incisal edge to the gingival margin. Now, if it is normal, it's okay. Now, when we need this crown lengthening? When we have a short crown. Now, what is this short crown? The short crown is any tooth which having a reduced tooth structure, that is 2 millimeter parallel spaces axial wall, a healthy tooth structure is not there, then you can't go for a restoration. In such cases, you need for a crown lengthening. So, once you see that there is a छोटा सा दांत है, हम लोग कुछ कर नहीं सकते हैं, क्या करेंगे इसका? दांत बचा सकते हैं या नहीं बचा सकते हैं? Is the big problem. So let I answer you, everyone. You can do it. Is just 2-minute mind work. You should set in your mind, then everything is easy. Now, once you understand that there is a short clinical crown, the indications and all I'll be dealing very detailedly next. So once you feel, you will see the difficulty, you will diagnose, and then you will execute in mind what is a short clinical crown, then you are going to implement it. Then, what is the rationale behind this crown lengthening therapy? See, whenever you place a restoration, the restoration should rest, that is the margins of your restoration should rest in a biological area. Now, this biological width, which will be very important. I'll be coming each one by one step, basics, not hypha, what is different procedures, flaps, that and all. First, me, how to diagnose, I am more keen on that. Now, for that, how to do that? To correct the occlusion prior to the restoration from a long-term stability and comfort. So, once you see that adequate tooth length for the, it will provide. What does it help? It will provide you a good tooth length for your tooth preparation, restoration, retention, finishing of the margins for the restoration purpose. See, this is more of a restorative need usually, but nowadays at the current end, the aesthetic crown lengthening uses a fabulous result as everyone are keen about this smile enhancement. Now, if you want to know crown lengthening, you should know some of the few basic things. I know this periodontal or perio part is such which is not very aware, which we are not exposed to this during UG के time पे जो spelling है वो है ये that other end we don't know. So some let us brush your mind. We go to your BDS memories and get your brushed up for the perio little bit. Okay. First, you should see about the periodontal health. What is this periodontal health? Whenever you have a tissue, you should know what is periodontium actually. See, we have two components in our smile. That is white component and the pink component. What is white component? Is nothing but your tooth. What is pink component? Is our gums. Many restoring dentists or the general dentists are more concerned of white component, but the pink component is not much stressed up. So you need to, there is always a harmony between the pink and the white component. Only just seeing the white, you can't just ignoring the pink, you will not have a beautiful smile. When you smile, can you see only the white component? No, it's both pink and white component, right? So one, as I said, there is both the components as both the eyes are necessary, both the heads are necessary, like that. Both white and pink components are essential. So before knowing to the disease part of the periodontium, we should also know the healthy part. Healthy part is nothing but it comprises of the gingiva, alveolar bone, cementum, okay, periodontal ligament is the main. And in this crown lengthening topic, we deal more on the biological things. Next, the restorative dentist. Whenever we are planning for a crown lengthening, it is very, very important. So, examine, like, imagine you are calling a periodontist, but before that, you are going to restore the tooth. So, you should be aware that what is happening. In case, okay, if you don't want to do or you don't like to do, but you should be aware that what the procedure is be, how it is done, what if you do, what if you don't do. Once you understand, then the restorative part becomes very easy. You will not have a failure cases. Many a time, what happens? You do restore the teeth very fantastically, zirconian tooth, many fantastically, any SPF, metal crown, anything. But if you cannot sustain that restoration, and if at all there is a periodontal breakdown, either in the form of initial inflammation or to the severe bone loss, then what? Okay, you may get a guarantee of a crown for many years, but can you get a guarantee for that gum which is lost? No. Okay, next is a clinical crown lengthening, which I'll be telling you. So as I said, periodontal health, margin placement. See, in the crown lengthening, margins play a very, very important role. See, there are three margins: subgingival, supragingival, equigingival, and subgingival. All are very important. When to place, where to place which margins are also important. I'll be dealing in detail with that. Biologic width is what I please tell you. Don't miss this. This is very important topic. If you miss this biological width, the restorative part of your you will not go wrong in that. Next is a ferrule effect, which is I'll be telling very less because it is coming in the post and core more of that. Just I'm giving it what happens if you are not doing crown lengthening in case of a post and core. What happens? I'll be telling you there. Coming to the biological way. First, you should understand, I just don't want to go in very, very, very depth about everything, the epithelium, which epithelium keratinized, non-keratinized, stratified, non-stratified and all. First, I'll be saying about the biological weight. See, our gums are having an epithelium, that is a gingiva. Gingiva is having an epithelium, which is the oral epithelium. And towards the sulcus, we have a sulcular epithelium, right? Now, in the sulcus, you can see this is a sulcular epithelium. There is a band of epithelial collar which is there. This is your enamel, okay? And this is your sulcus. And this attachment, that is, this is your bone. From here till the sulcular depth, whatever the attachment collar which is embracing is your biological width. See, this is your biological width, which comprises of junctional epithelium, connective tissue epithelium. Both together, we call it as a biological width. Now, one thing I just want to tell, see, this is the oral epithelium. It acts as a barrier from the oral environment. The things or anything or any environmental insult which results will impair harm to the inner structure. And this junctional epithelium, the cells here are arranged very loosely. Intercellular connections are very loose. Because of this, what happens for normal probing also, if you have a higher pressure, there will be insight or any crown. If you are not placing crown margins at an appropriate place, then any insight to this area, then body will react to it. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The body will react to it, and the biological width is nothing but a room. Imagine it is a room. If you try to move that thing away, then it will occupy space. It will not leave it. It will occupy space. So don't hurt them. Don't do anything to that area. It is a very VIP area. Don't touch. If at all you are touching, recreate or re-establish that. So the concept of biological width is utilized as a proper guideline during evaluation of periorestorative. Here I just want to tell, see, periorestorative. Whenever there is a good crown height, okay, if you are going for a crown restoration, well and good. But the margins which you place during the restoration is very, very important. You can't place the margins too deep because there is a junctional epithelium. There is a biological width. If you are harming that biological width, then for sure that will not leave you. That will take your bone level down, and because of that only you can see there is a lot of inflammation or the gingival recession or the abscess formation getting near your restoration. It is all because of this violation of the biological width. What does this indicate? It indicates the proportion of supraalveolar soft tissue, and which is measured from the, as I showed in the figure, from the gingival sulcus to the alveolar crust. From the gingival sulcus to the alveolar crust using the local anesthetic, which I will be telling you. That we call it as a bone sounding. This is bone sounding. See, first the area of interest to whichever you are requiring, you need to anesthetize it with either a local anesthesia, that is infiltration. Once you anesthetize it, take a periodontal probe, just give a walking stroke. During this walking stroke, give a little extra pressure from the gingival sulcus till you get a hit, that is the alveolar bone. So now you are interrupting the junctional epithelium, that is a biological width. This is how what we call as a bone sounding. Why this bone sounding is necessary? That is because when you try to do the crown lengthening, you need to know how much amount of bone reduction should be done or should not be done, or just a gingivectomy is sufficient. What is a gingivectomy? Just sculpting a marginal gingiva. Is that sufficient, or you need to raise the flap? So you need to know this bone sounding. The biological width includes, as I say, it is a connective tissue attachment and a junctional epithelium, and it is having a mean dimension, that is average of 2 mm. So please don't disturb this 2 mm space for that. Give space for that. Otherwise it will recreate. I'm telling this 10 times because if you heard this, there are many possibilities, different ways of harm which you are getting in your restorative practice. Invading the biological width with a restoration can result in a localized crestal bone loss. Either it will result in a bone loss. Why? It's because it wants to create its own space. Gingival recession or any hyperplasia or combination of this. See, I don't want to go in detail about the margins, but I have just given a glance to brush up yourself what are different margins which are present. That is subgingival, supragingival or equigingival. What are the pros, cons in brief? That is supragingival margin. Supragingival margin will not have any impact on the periodontium because our margins are supragingival. We are not going subgingival. That is inside the supragingival subluxus area or near the biological vein or the junctional epithelium, near the alveolar crest. We are not going there. It is supragingival. But can we view supragingival margins in the anterior tooth? Can we? Okay, I agree. At the present, we have a more translucent restorative material and the adhesive dentistries and all. But still, there may be chances of gingival recession. A few, a 0.5 or 1 mm will cause a harshening change in your aesthetic smile, right? So usually in the anterior, we won't use supragingival margin. In the posterior, as it is not most aesthetic driven area, we can go for a supragingival. Next, equigingival. It's not usually practiced because you can't maintain the plaque control aids over there. So it is usually sort of more concern subgingival. Now, crown lengthening procedure comes when you are placing your margin in the subgingival area. Then what happens? What happens is, right, you will impair. If you place too deep or away, it will impair the biological width. The greatest biological risk occurs when placing subgingival or epigingival margin for finishing procedure. And in addition, if the margin is placed too far below the gingival tissue cut, it will violate the attachment apparatus. When the restoration margin is placed too far below the gingival crest, it impinges on the gingival apparatus and creates a violation. As I said, violation of the biological width can't be done. It is a major crime in dentistry for the restoration of the tooth. As my words, two different procedures can be involved. See, this is a nutshell. I'm just telling you supragingival, equigingival, and subgingival margin. Supragingival margin, as I said, non-aesthetic area, placed least impact in the periodontium. Equigingival margin is the crest of the margin of gingiva. It is having more impact on the periodontium. More plaque retentive things. I think my voice is not clear. Just a few minutes. Hello. Hello, Dilima. Hello, Nilima. Can everyone hear my voice clearly? Is there any issue, please? Hello, my voice is clear now. Can everyone hear it? Okay, sorry for the disturbance. Should I repeat the back slides? Should I repeat the black slides? If it was, you want me to repeat the slides? Okay, is that fine? I can carry on. Repeat? No, it's clear now. Okay, I'll repeat or no? I'll carry on with from the current. Okay, you want me to repeat? There are few repeats, so I just want to repeat. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for the disturbance. I'm really sorry for the disturbance. Okay, fine. As someone is telling that it ends, you can repeat. Okay, fine. I'll start with the current slide. I'll not repeat because there are many people who have other things. At the end, if those who want to listen, for them. But I want to just share a few slides. This biological weight I want to tell once, because if you are not understanding that concept, then you will not understand the crown lengthening. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, literally for troubling this, because the host who was there had some issue with her network. So now, as I said, the biological weight, I just you want to give a glance. Biological weight, as I said, it is nothing but, wait a minute. I'm really sorry, as the host had some problem, so I couldn't do this thing. So biological weight, I'll just tell in a nutshell. What is biological weight? The biological weight is nothing but it is an epithelial collar which is present from the sulcus to the alveolar bit, whatever the attachment which is there, it is nothing but biological weight. It is nothing but the junctional epithelium and the connective tissue, which comprises, at least this is an average you can give of 2 mm. This is your biological weight. So if at all you violate this biological weight, then you will be having a lot of problems after your restorative procedure. Was all I was explaining, and if at all you want, at the last I'll explain it again. I just don't want to repeat it because few members will be missing again. Okay. I was at here regarding the margin. So which margins you need to do, that is supragingival margin, equigingival margin, or the subgingival margin. Usually supragingival margins, we are not having much concern where we violate the biological weight. But in case of subgingival margin, we have a problem where you may violate the biological weight and the problems may arise. Now, ferrule effect. What is this ferrule effect? Whenever you do a post-time core, you can see that you should give a 360 degrees of a metal casing for the restoration. Already, because there is a lot of less tooth, so you're giving a post-time core. In that, if there is a minimum tooth, then how will you? In case if you do a crown lengthening, then the area will be clear. You can give a 360 degree of band of circumference to have this ferrule effect. See, this is your 2 mm where you can give this ferrule effect so that the root fractures will be less. Now, once we are done with this, now actually I'll be coming in detail with the treatment planning. What are the indications of crown lengthening? Contraindications of crown lengthening. Before starting any treatment, see, perio, your gums or gingiva is also, the pink component is also utmost important. Never neglect. Many a case, what happen, you give more concern on a white component, that is your tooth, but you ignore for the pink component. It is almost having a correlation. Pink and white should go in hand, then the things will be very nice. Now, if at all there is an active disease, but you are not emphasized on that and you have done only the restorative part, then you can't have a good results, right? So both are important. Okay, you missed the biological width. Okay, fine. So control of the active disease. Whenever you want to treat even a restoration, please see that your gums are healthy. When your pillar is not strong, you want to build a very huge 14-story building, which is not possible, right? You will have a problem. So your base, what is your base? Is your bone, your gums, or your gingiva, your component should be very strong. If you are having a good periodontal strong backup, then your restoration which you have placed can be a successful. You should see that. Now, before we go in detail of what is crown lengthening, what are the indications and all, this is one slide which is very important. Please don't miss this slide. First is two assessments you need to do, a soft tissue assessment and a hard tissue assessment. What is this soft tissue assessment? Soft tissue assessment is what? Your gums. If what is width of attached gingiva, if it is adequate or not, how to see. Okay, you should be very cautious also that. First we'll go for a soft tissue attachment. If width of attached gingiva is adequate, that is, there is a good quantity of amount of width of attached gingiva, then external bevel gingivectomy or internal bevel gingivectomy. I will be detailedly explaining this. In second, width of attached gingiva, if it is inadequate, what are the things to be done? I'll be explaining. So you should have more concern of width of attached gingiva. Okay, the gingiva which you can see from the sulcula to the mucogingival junction. If your width of attached gingiva is less than 3 mm and you want to increase the crown height, can you do that? No, you can't, right? So you should first assess. This is soft tissue. Next is the hard tissue. In hard tissue, you should see the bone crest. This is the bone crest. Now, is it a normal crest, high crest, or a low crest? What is normal? If it is low, that is, it is more apically placed, then no need of ostectomy, because if it is very too low, then your margins are not near that, right? You can place it this way. If you are very high, if your crest is very high, this is normal. This is very high and this is very low. When this is very low, you can place your margins here. When your crest is very high, what is this? This is your alveolar bone. If you place your margins, that is the restorations, very near, then it will impinge your biological width, which will violate things, right? So this is a small assessment you need to know. Second thing is, you should know the gingival thickness. What biotype is it? It is very, very important for your restorative part. See, when there are two types, a thick and a thin, I showed here. Pass a probe gently. Please be gentle to your periodontials. They can't take very harsh things. Always love them, okay? Just pass your probe. You can see your probe is here, right? You can see the end of the probe, right? This is when you can see through, then the gingival biotype is thin, because you can see the probe. Once, see here, can you see? No, you can't, because the gingival biotype is thick. then you can't see. Why this is important for you to know the thickness, that is thin or thick. If you have a thin biotype, the chances of gingival recession are more. If thick biotype, the chances of gingival recession or any environmental insult to the tissues will be less. Now I'll be not having much of theoretical pictures. Thoda bahut I'll be having a literature which should be known. First indication is a restorative needs. Please, if you have any problem, keep in the chat section so that I can revert you. Okay. Restorative needs. Main problem which occurs in our restorative part, in our general routine practice is because of this short clinical crown. In the initial slide, I said what is short crown. Why we want a long crown when we call it a short crown. See, can you see here? Because of this, you can't place your restoration on the healthy tooth structure. So you need to do a crown lengthening procedure. Now, you can see this slide, this picture, subgingival caries. Main thing of any cavity removal for the caries removal is you should have a proper access, you should have a proper retention for the restoration. Can you have an access? Can you remove the complete caries from here? No, you can't. You may remove this part, but which is hidden? Is this your complete treatment protocol? No, it's not. Okay. So what is thing we are doing? See, this is what we have actually. This is the gum line. This is the caries. This much of caries is hidden inside. Okay. If you are leaving this, then the patient will come to you again, right? If what you can do is in such cases also, you can give a crown lengthening. See, we can open, we can do our preparations, place the restorations. Okay, this is after the crown lengthening. Now, there are many times what happens because of the caries, fracture or a wear. I have my cases. I have just kept 2 or 3 cases to show you what I have done. In such cases also, if this much of height is not sufficient for your restorative purpose, so you want to increase your height. This is the main concern which you require when we require this crown lengthening procedure. As I said, in case of the post-time core, for the ferrule, you need a restoration. Now, another thing is I just want you then to see, sometimes it becomes very difficult for you for this biological weight, that and all. But sometimes in the anterior, especially anterior cases, whenever, if in the class 1 cases, if you require normal gum sculpting, then you can do it. It is not very tough. Only thing is you should have a thorough knowledge about this. Then its diagnosis goes very easy. See, you can see this inflamed tissue, the margins, the gingival genits are not perfect, the smile is not good. And I want to tell you one thing also. See, you have a good, strong confidence, you can handle the cases, you can handle the social media or your day-to-day activities. Many times your smile becomes more concerned. Whenever you have a lot of confidence, but you don't have a good smile, that will hamper your attitude, right? In such cases, patients need this. Then again, you need to see what is the patient expectations and what is the clinical evaluation which you have done. Can we do, can I do, can periodontist do, can we do, or anything that is important, okay? In such cases. Now again, one more point. See, whenever you, many a times you notice that whenever you place a crown, okay, you will see that there are many of patients which come back with this inflammation or with abscess or with exposure, gingival recession. Do you feel? Do you like you see many cases like that? You may question why such cases are there, right? Yes, because you are violating the biological width. You are violating the biological width. If you are violating the biological width, then for sure, then this will happen, right? As I said, biological width, leave a space of 2 mm to that VIP. If you are not leaving, then he will not leave you. He will create his own space and he will do the things. Okay? So he or she, whatever, it will create its own space. Okay? Now, see, in aesthetic purpose is also an indication. Aesthetic plays a very important role, as I said now. So here also there are things, but you need to do very cautiously so as to achieve the smile enhancement. And this is a common features. You can see the short teeth because of the eruption which is not happened completely. Because of that, the entire crown is not come, the gingiva is covered. So you need to do this thing. As I said, it is not only a gum sculpting, but you should know the standard. What are the standards? The biological width, what you are going to do, and all. Sometimes because of this uneven gingival margins, you can see when here the margins are not perfect. I mean to say the gingival genits. One is high, one is low. In such cases also, you need to do this CLP. And most commonly, aesthetic times patient will come, मैम जब भी मैं हंसती हूँ या हंसता हूँ ना मेरा गम्स बहुत दिखता है तो क्या करें. Next, it is time for you to know gummy smile, when to do. And it is one huge detailed topic which I can't explain in now. But I can give an idea. See, usually after the ortho treatment also this happens. Okay. In such cases also, you need to do this CLP, or else because of the smile line. This is also very important. High smile line or a lip line or a low lip line. If it is high, whenever you smile, the lip goes higher and the gingival display is more. Okay. In that time also, it will be, that is nothing but a gummy smile. In that case, whenever you're planning any restoration or any smile enhancement procedure, you should be very cautious. Obviously, when you have a merit or indication, some contraindications will be there. You can't do all the procedures by this crown lengthening. Non-restorable tooth due to severe decay or fracture. See, at that limit, you can do. If your tooth root caries, it is extended till the root caries is still, you want to expose that and do, you can't. There should be periodontal support for your tooth, for your restoration to carry. If there is no good periodontal support or the tooth, then you can't. Aesthetic compromise, especially in the anterior, you should be more concerned. As I said, you should see if you are doing a crown lengthening on one side and you are not doing on the other side, it will be a injustice, right? You can't do that. Either it may be because of any economic issues or something, but you can't do that. Crown to root ratio is also important. If you have a less crown and a less root, then if you have like it is why it is important? Again, the periodontal support. If the root structure, you are reducing it, okay, then what you are doing? You are reducing the periodontal support. Then will the pillar stand? Will any restoration take place? No, there will be a mobility. So you should see that 1:1 ratio at least is a minimum. It should be there, okay. If there is a good root length, then short you can go easily and do. But if the root length is reduced, it means your periodontal support is becoming less, then you need to do that. Furcation, why? Whenever you are once during doing this crown lengthening, if the furcation is involved, then what happens? There will be improper oral hygiene method plus decreased periodontal support. Because of that also, you should see that if you are planning crown lengthening so deep, if it is exposing your furcation, then you should need to think that such tooth can't be restored. Compromise adjacent tooth aesthetic, as I said. Now I'll be discussing few clinical cases with the procedures. Okay. Any doubts till this? I think the host has left. Anyone have any doubt till now? Theoretical part, please can give in a chat box.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm back again. Sorry for leaving. Actually, there is no light here,
Okay,
so
no
I
problem.
cannot join again.
Nilima, please can you
This
unmute
is
everyone?
yeah.
Can you unmute everyone?
Wait.
I'm not able to.
No, let the if I'll they will question in chat box.
Okay, fine, sure.
Okay.
No problem.
Ask question in chat. If I'll unmute everyone, na.
Okay.
So there will be no sound will be there, you know. That's why. Wait, I'll read the question.
Okay, I got
Anyone
it. I
having
found
doubt?
it.
Is it
You
over?
I can see now. They're asking, ma'am, can you explain how is biological width compromised? I didn't get you. Okay. As I said, what is biological width? It is nothing from the alveolar crust to the sulcular depth. That is the attachment, which is 2 mm. Okay. I will show the slide so that it will be very easy for you. What do you mean by violation of the biological width is your question, right? Okay, just a minute. Yeah, we are there with the slide. See, I said what is biological width violation means this is your enamel and this is your gingiva. This is your oral epithelium and this is your sulcular epithelium. The band from here to here is your biological width, that is junctional epithelium and the connective tissue together comprise of the biological width. What is junctional epithelium? It is from here till this end. And this junctional epithelium get attached to both the enamel and the cementum. What do you mean by violation of biological width? Say this is your enamel. Whenever place any crown, okay, it should not come in this area. Okay, it should be away. It should not come in this area. There should be at least this 2 mm space which is left. If you come and hinder in this, then it is called a biological width violation. Then what it does, the alveolar bone which is present here goes deep in the form of resorption. Okay. Then when it comes down, this apparatus also come down. In that cases, you have a gingival recession, bone loss, chronic inflammation, periodontal abscess. Okay, that is the thing. This is nothing but your violation of the biological width. Hope I'm clear. If yes, please put in a chat box. Yes. If no, then say no. How to measure biological width? Whether the gingivectomy and the crown lengthening are same? No. It is part. Gingivectomy is a part of crown lengthening, but sometimes it is with, I'll be telling one by one question. Bone sounding to be precise. Okay, I'll tell that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Devyani. Your doubt is clear. See, Mandilima, I just want to clear this because if they are not understanding now the concept, then next procedure they'll not understand. I'll be putting on the picture. So I'm just, okay, just so I want to clear them.
Okay.
Now next is how to measure
Okay,
the,
no problem. You can do.
yeah. After how many days?
Continue.
Yeah. After how many days of CLP restoration can be given? I'll be telling in detail, that is in the last slide. Okay. Next is bone sounding to be precise. Okay, I'll tell that now. Restoration can't be placed. Okay. Fine, I'll be telling bone sounding now. Nilima, if I miss some chat box, please read the questions and tell me, okay?
Yeah, I'll read it. You continue your means whatever someone is asking now.
I'm
You
doing with
continue
the
that.
bone sounding. I'll tell with the bone sounding. Then next you see the next question. I will do with that.
Bone.
Now I'm telling the bone sounding.
Okay.
How to do this bone sounding? First, give a local infiltration of the tooth of interest. Okay. Once you anesthetize the tooth, then take your periodontal probe. Okay. And walk around the, just keep inside the sulcus and hit till you get a bone sounding. It is not, till that is nothing but your biological width. Okay. Nilima, next question.
Yeah. Wait. Next question is, how many days of CLP restoration can be given?
I'll be telling in the later slide. I'll be telling in the later slide, which it is there. It is there in the end of the session, because we are not given restoration yet. Still we are in the basics. So I'll be telling that. Okay.
Okay. I'll read another one.
Yeah.
Please show in the same diagram that where subgingival margin should be placed. So is this over? I think you can show.
Margins. Okay, you want to like subgingival margins, right? See.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. See, whenever, as I said, what are the subgingival margins? The margins which are placed below the gingiva. What is the problem over here? And I understood your question that you are asking how much there should be this. I said biological width is 2 mm. So at least that 2 mm space should be there. Even you can take an X-ray, okay? You can see the alveolar crest, okay, where it is there. Either it is a high, low, or what? Normal. Then you place your margin 2 to 3 mm away from the bone crest, because that is a space for biological width. Don't enter that biological width area. Understood? Okay, that is a concern. If anything else, please ask. Nilima, next, any questions?
No, I don't think so. There's a question. It's done. I think everyone's question is answered now. If anyone is having doubts, please ask. Hello, doctor. Can you tell me what is the criteria of normal crest and high crest and low crest? Criteria of high crest.
See, why you are knowing this high crest, low crest, or normal crest is whenever you are placing your margins. Okay, as I said, wait, I'll show the picture.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. I'm just saying. See, normal crest is what? High crest is which is very near to your sulcus. See, you can see this is your sulcus and the bone is very near. When you want to place any restoration very near, what is that biological width? From here till this depth, it should be 2 mm. And if you place any restoration, then it will not. Just we want to know this concept of normal crest, high crest, or low crest, because where you want to place your margins. You should not place your margins near to the crest. So before that, you should know what type of crest is there. You can see in the radiograph. Is it too near, too low? Too low is not in much concerned. Normal is okay. But if it is high, then you need to see that you do a nice osteotomy. That I'll be telling in detail when to do gingival cutting, is osseous recountering necessary or not, and all. Okay, this, hope I'm clear. Next, I'll start.
So another question from Dr. Devyani.
Yeah.
I think we can make incision. We can make it 2 mm
Yeah.
above the
Okay.
marginal
See.
gingiva.
Yeah, yeah. Divyani, I'll answer this
Let's
very.
make incision.
Okay. Thank you, Nilima. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
now how much of gingivectomy to be done, whether only gingivectomy is sufficient or bone recountering is necessary, you should assess once whichever tooth of interest. For example, you are taking any tooth and the tooth length, usually it will be of more restorative purpose. You people will be planning for a crown lengthening. If the tooth is very short, less than 2 mm, then you should see many factors: gingival biotype, thick, thin. Okay. Next is how much of attached gingiva. Okay, width of gingiva, attached gingiva is there. There should be a sufficient amount of attached gingiva. Okay, then only you can do gingivectomy. Otherwise, from where you will reduce that gingiva, you should see that. Next, bone support. How much of the bone support is there? Once you plan, okay, I want this much of tooth structure. What you do? You give an incision of 2 mm. Then you see by a probe, are you near to the bone? When you see, you can hit the bone, that is alveolar crest. If you are near, then you should open the flap, you should do osseous recountering, then place. Okay, I'll be showing you the slides. Okay, I'll continue now. Okay, Nilima?
Yeah, you continue. Wait, I'll just make. Thank you, Dr. Veronica, and thank you, Dr. Devyani, for the questions. If anyone is having doubt, please type your message here in chat box. So later we can see.
Now we'll be having more of a clinically things. Theoretical we are done. I said about the indications, contraindications. Okay. Now have the, see, there are many surgical crown lengthening techniques. Okay. There are traditional or another thing is minimal invasive technique. Nilima, my voice is clear, right?
Yeah. It is clear.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. See, one is external bevel gingivectomy. That is, you say na, how much of the gingiva should be cut. What is that? It is the external bevel gingivectomy. Internal bevel gingivectomy with or without bone reduction is what, how much you need to open the flap or you not to open, just do that and sculpt the gums and leave, or not, that I'll be telling you. Apically position flap with or without bone reduction. See, when you have insufficient amount of attached gingiva, then you can't sculpt the gums, right? You should have an adequate. So what you do first, it is a stage process. You have a apically position flap, then only a gingivectomy or a bone recountering is there. Then combined techniques. See, there are many techniques and all. I just don't want to detailedly tell about what is internal bevel incision, what is sulcular incision, how is flap reflection, what are the principles behind that. Okay, I'm just here to tell you understand the concept of crown lengthening and few basic knowledge how it is done. Okay, when it is done, why it is done, which were the questions we had, right? See, this is first case. This is a, we are doing a bleeding point. We are creating a bleeding point with a marker. Okay, just it is like a tweezer with a pointed thing. When you punch it, it will create a bleeding point. Okay, these are the bleeding points. Why it is necessary? Just don't try to sculpt your gingiva like that. You should have a proper gingival zenith. It should not be flat. They should be having a proper gingival zenith. Okay. How much amount of exposure, crown exposure you want, just point that and give a point, give a punch. Once you create this bleeding point, see, these are the bleeding points. Okay. Another thing is very important. Please don't harm to the interdental papilla. Otherwise, you will end up with a black triangle. What are black triangles? These are the embrasures. If you remove your papilla, then this will give a very ugly look for your smile, then you will be in danger. Okay. So whenever you are giving an infusion, see to that you give from here. Leave this papilla, spare the papilla, don't involve. Okay, you may have that also, but you need a lot of skills with the papilla preservation and all. Okay. Now, next what you do is you place a incisions. See, there are external bevel incision, internal bevel incision. There are both towards. Both are like one is towards the bone, one is away from the bone. I don't know. Okay. Now you give an incision from here to here. See, papilla is not spared from here to the here. So it may be around 2 mm of gingiva I have been removed. When I have removed this, I have assessed what to do. I have all in my nutshell that this much amount of crown I want, crown lengthening I want. Okay, I give incision, then expose that. Same, I give bleeding marks here palatally and I expose that. After that, once you do, you need to reflect your flaps. Now here I'll explain you something which you can understand very clearly. See, this is your crest. I used to tell you the crest. ये आपका crest है. इसमें what it is it high, low, normal. Now once you explore, see the crown and it is near. So what you want to increase the length because there is a caries, right? Wherever you will place the restoration, you can't place the restoration here, right? So what you need to do here is you do a osseous recountering. Can you place the crown here? Still there is lot of caries, everything and all. You can't. You do a osseous recountering. See, this is after elevation of the flap. Okay. What I do with the bird, I will sculpt the bone, that is ostectomy. I'll remove the bone till I get a desired tooth length. See. Fine, you can see I'm exposing the root. This is root. Now this is our new crest. This is our new bone crest. Now you can see till here, you can remove the restoration. You can do your all the restorative procedure. The access will be clear. You can see things. Now here, okay, you can see how much it was increased before and after. You can appreciate it, right? Okay. Once you are done with this thing, you need to check surrounding part and do a suturing. Suturing, there are a lot of things. Again, in suturing is another big topic, but you should see that your flap and your alveolar crest, whenever the gums and the bone should be tight very nicely, your suturing should be firm, adherent. If the flap which you are there is very near to the bone crust, then there will be less stability after the crown lengthening procedure. I mean, the margins will be not stable. This is the second case. Here I have kept, this is different. This is the accreted case, and that was because of the caries. You can see there is a severely accreted teeth. Okay. For this, for endo, you need to do a root canal and all. Now, can we place a crown over here? No, you can't place. Again, same. I am giving incisions. I am removing it. I am doing a bone recountering till the desired depth, that is osseous recountering all around, so that our new alveolar crust will be below and there will be new formation of a new gingival margin. See, I have achieved. Sorry, the picture was not clear. I couldn't get a clear picture of this. You can see there is an increased amount of the tooth structure. So now you can go for your restorative purpose. This is the final one. This is one more aesthetic case. It was not because of the caries or not because of any gummy smile. Because of some smile challenges, as her gingival genits were not proper. Can you see here? What is gingival genit? The central and the canine should have a same gingival genit, that is the margin should coincide, whereas the laterals should be bit low, 1 to 2 mm low. But you can see there is a flat genit. Okay, this is bit higher. So what I did was I have done a gingivectomy. Here we had planned it very well. It includes lot of steps. We used to do a provisional restoration, that is we call as diagnostic wax-up. Okay, what we do is we make a cast. Okay, in the cast we will mark sorry we will mark the desired gingival margin levels. Okay, and in the cast what we do, we trim that area and we give a provisional, and that we use in the mouth for as a stent. Okay, as a stent, so that it will be easy for me and for my restorating dentist or an endodontist or a restorative dentist to do. Okay, so that was planned, kept in the mouth, and nice incisions can be given very nicely because you have a definitive plan. For this crown I want this much, for this crown I want this much. Okay. Sorry. Then later on, the restorations were given accordingly. We can't place your final restoration immediately. This was the main question everyone were asking. There are many techniques. This was a surgical conventional technique, traditional approach. We have with lasers also. We have many other techniques which are very advanced and less invasive. Okay, like smile designing, where everything is planned first, and if we do implement, so that the flap reflection we do is minimal. Okay, I'll be telling that. Once you had done a crown lengthening, can we do crowns immediately? No, you can't, because the gingival margins which are present are not stable. They should need to heal to re-establish that biological width. So it depends. Usually when you are concerned in the anterior area, provisional you can do, but not the final one. Okay, I said that we had done a provisional and given, but in case of anterior, what happens? The gingival margins will be not stable, so the chances of exposure of the restorative margins will be more. In such cases, you need to be very careful. Okay, we can't place your final restoration immediately. Actually speaking, at least for 6 weeks to 3 months for a post CLP procedure for posterior teeth, because aesthetic is not much concern. Whereas in the aesthetic, actually 3 to 6 months, because that is a period where they'll be having a stable gingival margin, re-established biological width and all. Okay, so this is the time where you need to think when to place and when not to place. If the apical margin of the restorative preparation is placed within the biological width, I said close to the bone, a zone of chronic inflammation is like to develop. There are two schools of thought. One say it may be because of the improper plaque control aid, or other says because one of the theories suppose say that if there is insufficient space for the normal length of the junctional epithelium to develop, the junctional epithelium is short, weak, and does not exert an effective sealing. See, as I said, there should be space. That is how much? Biological width is 2 mm. That space should be there. If that space is not there, then the junctional epithelium which will develop will be very weak, and you will be having not proper sealing. This junctional epithelium is main thing which seals your extraoral to the interior bone. So any environmental insult to this, then the inflammation will go to the periodontium. So you should be very carefully see that. So it is because of that it gets damaged. Others believe a deeply placed subgingival restorative margin close to the alveolar bone crest impairs proper proper plaque control, promoting inflammatory changes, which is not conducive to the periodontal environment. Now, see, this is one thing which is very this thing, stability of after the crown lengthening, because sometimes what happens, the gingival margins which are there, sometimes after the procedure, during the procedure, you feel yes, fine, it was good. Okay, you have seen about the biological width, but still I want to share you some points which should be very, which should be noticed when you are you want to see about the stability. Okay. If, as I said, regarding the flap course closure, if the suturing flap less than or 3 mm from the osseous crest, and if it is the thick and flat type of bone which is there, then the chances of tissue rebound will be more. This is one cause. There are, again, the literature review, this is one of the cause which may not, because the stability of the gingival margin. And usually it is always better if the patient is willing for a surgical extrusion. Okay, but it is a time consuming. There, in surgical extrusion, what happened, we are not changing the attached gingiva, we are not changing the gingival margin, just we are extruding the tooth. Okay, we are not doing the osseous recountering and all. This is having a more predictable outcome when compared to the traditional approach. And coming to the stability of the biological width, usually biological width will be re-established 3 to 6 months. There will be no any problem in that. Only problem occurs if you violate. Otherwise, there will be no any problem. So stability, as I want to say, if you have a proper patient selection, that, and you should see the needs of the patient. If you are doing and the patient's need is totally different, then the things may go wrong. Okay, and obviously for any procedure there are few effects we have, like transient tooth mobility will be there, and sometimes there will be a 0.5 to mm of gingival display, maybe more, which may be not suspected because of the many factors which may be involved. Now, restorative procedure after crown lengthening. As many of you want to know when to place the crown length, crown, I mean to say restoration. Provisional, okay, you can place, not an issue, but not the permanent. You need to wait at least 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, according to the area of concern, anterior, posterior, you should see. If it is an anterior case, you need to wait. Don't try to give your permanent restoration as soon as possible, because your gingival margins are not stable. Okay. Next, and there should be correct management of restoration and the periodontist, that is a restorative dentist and the periodontist. Both should be having a good communication for a proper treatment and a nice execution of the case. Now, when you want to, as I said, periodontium is very important if you are placing a crown, okay? But you are saying that you are not seeing that the crowns are, the gum is healthy or not. You should say that the periodontium should be healthy, okay? Then only you can place your crown. Otherwise, if there is any inflammation, do a scaling, whatever the treatment procedure. Once the gums are healthy, then go for a restoration. In case if you are giving a restoration in that state, then don't imagine that the further procedures, whatever you are done, will be happy. No, not the second day will not come, after few days, okay? Because the body takes bone resorption, the inflammation as an occurs, surely he will come to your clinic and bang you. So, not bang you, he will be there behind your head. And another thing is, whenever you are seeing the restorative, you should see the anterior and the posterior margins. Both should be seen in the harmony. If you do anterior very big and the posteriors are lying, then they will not give you a good smile enhancement, right? In such cases also you need to see. See, this is one important topic which is very wonderful, which is having a lot of knowledge, because diagnosing a case for aesthetic crown lengthening is very huge topic, because is it a gummy smile, or the lip lines are high, the low, there is a vertical maxillary excess. It is a very deep topic. Okay, I just can't explain in this one session, but I can tell you, if when you see, you probe if there is an adequate, only for a recreation of the gingival zenith if you want to do, because there you are not violating the biological width, because you are not placing any crown. Uneven gingival zeniths are there, that is your margins. Do a normal gum sculpting and leave. Then no problem, nothing will happen. If at all in the anterior you want to place a restoration, then the concern will be more. Okay. Lot of things to know and understand in depth. It's already 1.5 or 1 hour 15 minutes, so I don't want to extend or bore you more. I focused only few basic parts which is to be understood for the CLP procedure. These are the traditional approach which I have said. There are less invasive approach also, with the lasers, surgical microscopes, computed tomographic guided surgeries, digital smile design, which will assist you to tissue exercise. It is very limited how much what is executed, planned very nicely, especially the surgical microscope. The use of these technologies has prompted advances in minimal invasive techniques, such as the development of ultra conservative flaps. I just want to tell you, ultra conservative flaps. As in your restorative dentist, you say minimal access cavity preparation, saving maximum amount of the tooth structure. Like that also, even we periodontists say ultra conservative flaps. In that cases, that is minimal invasive, we have a minimal detachment. Okay. Always I'll say I have some aim. I more focus on perio. I like perio. I love perio. I breathe perio. I love to be a periodontist. So when you are a periodontist, then preservation of what is left is of utmost importance, rather than perpetual restoration of what's lost. See, what's lost, you can't recreate it. Okay, you can mimic it, but you can't get the same. So whatever is there, try to preserve it. Motivate your patients. If it is possible, you can say motivate your patients. So preservation is important rather than replacement. It's all about finding the calm in the child. Thank you. I end my session here. Nilima, are you on?
Yes, yes. Hi. Actually, someone is asking Dr. Nishtha Jain. She is
Yeah.
asking to explain the first slide, clinical case again. Can you?
Yeah. Which case?
Yeah.
Wait,
First clinical case
first
slide.
clinical case
First,
again.
yeah.
Shruti Handa, if width of attachment is less than 3 mm, then what to do? You need to
Yeah.
increase the, Shruti, you need to increase the width of attachment gingiva, that is apically position plan. First, you should increase the width of attached gingiva. Then, in the next stage approach, you can go for a gingivectomy with or without osseous recountering. Okay? Palatally or lingually, what is Shruti? Palatally or lingual is height is less than what will protocol? I didn't get this question. Can you please explain the slide having first clinical case? Okay, I'll show that.
Sorry, I missed the before messages. So
Shruti, you want me to repeat this slide, this picture? Shruti Handa, are you there?
this is
Nishita Jain.
Nishita Jain.
Yeah, this is
Nishita
a
Jain.
slide which you want, dear. This is a slide which you want to explain me. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Shruti, I'll answer you next. If lingual height crown is less then what to do. If it is less, then what to do. Okay. First, Nishita, see, now this is the case, there is a case, okay? Yes. In the first, you have an executed plan in your mind what to do, okay? Once you are seeing that you want this much of crown length, how much of gingiva should be removed, you will have in the mind. Imagine if you want a crown height of 11 mm. If it is 8 mm, then how much 3 mm should be removed. Once you remove this 3 mm, you should execute this plan inside only. If you want to remove 3 mm, you should see the radiograph where is the alveolar bone crest. Okay? How much it is sufficient? You should see the width of gingiva is sufficient. If this width of attached gingiva is not sufficient, and if you want to remove this much of gingiva, it's not fair, right? Then in such cases, you should increase this width of by apically positioning the flap so that there will be formation of a width of attached gingiva. Then you can sculpt. Okay. Now, once you have planned to remove the amount, just give a bleeding point. Already the anesthesia has been given. Okay. Giving a bleeding point, recounter this bleeding points and place the incisions. Internal bevel incision where you are removing this part of gingiva. Okay, this band of collar of gingiva is removed, and I said you should see that papilla is preserved. Please don't cut this papilla. If you cut this papilla, then you are gone. The smile is totally hampered. Okay, these are the zenith. Okay, you remove this. Next, what you do? Same you give palatally. Okay, palatal also you remove it, then excise it, then you reflect. Once you reflect, see, it is the alveolar crest bone is very near and the caries is still here. You want some tooth structure for the restorative purpose and access also. So what I do is I remove this bone. Okay, I just remove the bone. With the files or the burrs and all, you remove the bone nicely. It should be smooth. There should not be any rough margins. It should be smooth. Then measure with your periodontal probe and give a suture.
Okay.
Nishita, is me okay? In every case, do we need to raise flap? No. No, Nilambari doctor. In every case, it is not necessary to raise the flap. For example, you have a gums, okay? You take a sulcus depth, okay, from your probe. First of all, you should have in your clinic a periodontal probe, graduated probe. There are markings. Then only you can record how much is the depth sulcus. Once you measure how you used to measure a pocket like that, you measure the sulcus depth. How much of depth is there? Imagine there is 2 mm of sulcus depth. If you want to remove that 2 mm of gingiva, then where will be the sulcus? Where will be the biological width? Right? If example, when you probe, you see that there is 3 to 4 mm of sulcus depth, then you can remove 1 to 2 mm of your gingiva. You can sculpt it. If you are not placing any restoration, okay, you can sculpt it. And if at all you are placing a restoration also, see from the new gingival margin after the gingivectomy, from there to the alveolar bone crest, how much is the depth? You need to see that. Okay. If you feel that the margins which you are going to place is near to your alveolar crest, how much? At least 2 mm of biological width is there. So I prefer 3 mm should be there. If it is not that, then you need to do flap. You need to raise the flap. You should do a osseous recontouring. What happens? Then the bone will go at a higher level. So you can place that margin, and that at that higher level, there will be a re-establishment of new junctional epithelium and the new biological width will form. Okay. If you're not creating that space, then no. So you should see. Once you see that how much is the depth, after removing this much of gingiva, is the space for the biological width. That is 2 to 3 mm. It's not, my margins are not near to the crown or near to the crown. Okay. Next.
Dr. Shruti is also asking again, if
Yeah,
lingual height crown is less than, what to do? Is it answered?
Okay. Shruti, if lingual crown height is less, same, you need to open the flap, do the osseous recountering, and place the flap. Gingirectomy plus osseous recountering is needed, both if buccally or lingually. The same procedure is there. Usually we do buccal and lingual both, but sometimes some people ignore the palatal side if they are having a good amount, but you need to raise the flap. How will you suture? You need to raise the flap. And if the lingual height is less, same gingivectomy. If you see you want osseous recountering or not, then decide. Hope I'm clear.
Yeah. Okay.
Any else? Can you unmute?
Wait. Yes, she understood Nilambari. Which Dr. Nilambari is asking
Yeah.
which bird to use for osseous recontouring.
You have a straight burr which used for the disimpaction, the same burrs, the round burr, the straight burrs. You can see usually the round burrs will give a nice contours to the margin. The straight handpiece which we have, which we use for the disimpaction and all, the same burrs can be used here.
Okay. So I think everyone's question is answered. Wait, once again you have. Okay, no, she's saying. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Unmute.
Should I unmute everyone?
Yeah, unmute.
Right. Okay. So wait, one more. What is there? Unmute yourself if anyone want to ask the question. You can unmute and ask.
Hello.
How you measure the attached gingiva lingually or palatally? Sorry.
Yeah. See, in case of maxilla, there is a lot of attached gingiva. No worry. In case of, that is from the three gingival margins, you leave that space till your mucogingival junction. In case of palatal, you have a lot of attached gingiva, so no worry.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I think this is done. So she raised the hand. Leena Nanwani.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask the question. Yes, Leena. Dr. Leena, you can ask.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is my voice clear? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, you can ask.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, the procedure a little bit in detail, like how should suppose if we want to perform it in clinic, how we can perform, like the CLP.
CLP. I didn't get your question properly. Nilima, can you hear?
You can
Dr. Leena, please keep in a chat box because I'm not.
Yeah, chat boxes will be good.
Okay.
Dr. Richa Kapoor is also asking. You can elaborate the role of lasers in CLP.
Okay, Richa ma'am. Welcome, Richa ma'am. This is Richa ma'am. She's a periodontist in Mumbai.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Dr. Nilima. Yeah, you can continue the questions.
Ma'am, lasers are having a very good role. I'm not very much deep into the lasers, but they are less invasive and at current this COVID it will be very helpful for us. But thing is, economic wise, it is more, so we are off issues. Otherwise, when compared to the surgical or the traditional approach, lasers are having like a bloodless, painless, and just you have a nice even margins, whereas in the incisions, in case of traditional, the things will be not very sure because in the beginners. But for the lasers, you'll be having a very easy way where you can nicely sculpt the gums. Hi, Richa ma'am. Richa ma'am, can you unmute?
Hi Kishori, how are you?
Thank you, ma'am. You can enlighten us with more knowledge. You are a great experience and you are my mentor, idol. I'll be happy if you to share few points.
No. You gave a very good webinar. I just asked you about lasers so that others can also get an
I got
overview
it.
on how
Yeah,
you can use lasers and
yeah,
electrocautery and crown lengthening.
yeah.
So probably next time we can have Kishori speak about lasers and cautery also on advanced crown lengthening. It was
Yes.
a lovely webinar.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. As ma'am said, to enlighten on lasers.
Very challenging at the present thing. You can do a lot of things. Nilima?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So there is one more question. How can we use electrocautery for gingivectomy? Electrocautery, yeah.
Okay. See, electrocautery, what happens, when you want to do only gingivectomy, then okay, you can use it, not an issue. There is no worse in using. But just as I said, it is not only regarding the sculpting of the gums. If it is only just giving a gingivectomy, you can use lasers, electrocauteries and all, the painless, the bloodless procedure. But you should see that if there is any standard, as my topic says, that standard you should see. If it is not required, then go for it. Nothing to worry. Don't call any periodontist also.
Okay. And here I think everyone's question is answered.
Lasers, okay, soon ma'am will be guiding you or we will look for that. Sure, we will
Yeah,
be.
I'm looking forward to conduct the laser CLP from Dr. Richa Kapoor. I hope she will give in the dentalist talk. I would like to welcome her.
Okay.
So there is one more question. Dr. Leena Nanwani, she is asking, can you guide us regarding the steps in clinical crown lengthening procedure treatment
Yes.
so we can perform in clinic independently?
Yeah. Sure, Dr. Leena. See, first of all, whenever a case comes to you, you should have this following steps. Whenever a case comes to you, you should see the indications, which I have said already. Either is because of the caries, short clinical height, short clinical crown because or a gummy smile case, need to do the crown cutting. You should assess, is this a case for crown lengthening? You should see the indications. And when you see the indication, you should also see any contraindicated parts are there. You should see the crown to root ratios, are the things they are near to the furcation, is it in an aesthetic area. If you want to do only one teeth and if you're not doing the adjacent central, it is a crime. You should ask the patient regarding that. Okay, first is diagnose that you are going for a crown lengthening. So what are the indications and all you will be seeing. Next is you will be seeing, I gave you assessments like soft tissue assessment and hard tissue assessment, right? In the soft tissue assessment, you should see the biotype. Why it is important, now you give a patient everything, this is a quotation, this much is that, we are going to do crown lengthening procedure, the restoration. But before telling to the patient, you should have your mind homework done, that what type of this is there. If the biotype is thin, right, if the gingival biotype is thin, then the chances of gingival recession will be more. So you need to explain to the patient. This may be chances of that. You may, because telling anything prior is always better than creating any complications and later facing them. Okay. Once you have done that, you are seeing the soft tissue, then see for the hard tissue. Then you see the alveolar crest. Once you see that alveolar crest, we can do osseous recountering if we require. There is a sufficient attached gingiva, okay? There is a sufficient bone we can do, then okay, go ahead. Next, once you decide you are planning this case for a crown lengthening, first protocol you need to have is you measure the sulcular depth, okay? Take your periodontal probe. First of all, I recommend everyone you should have a periodontal probe, not the straight probe, graduated periodontal probe. Otherwise, you will be not able to see the markings, okay? Once you see that, you will be having, see for example, I am taking one example because I can't take all the examples. I like caries.
Hello?
Yeah, you can. I can hear you,
Yeah,
doctor.
I can't hear. My earphones are. Okay. Fine.
No problem.
So, yeah, once you finalize that, I am giving an example of anterior. Okay. For example, my crown lengths are short. Okay. I want to increase the length. What I do, how much amount of gums to be removed, you need to assess first. You note down. Otherwise, make a impression, take a cast, and mark your new gingival margins. Once you are done with the new gingival margins, now you will understand how much you are going to remove, right? Then later on, you see how much of attached gingiva is left. Okay. And if I remove this much, will I able to do only, if I can do only a gingivectomy or a flap? That I said you should see again. Once you remove the excess of gingiva, whichever you see, again probe and see if you are near to the alveolar bone. What you need to do is raise the flap. Okay, that is a time you should not wait for anything. You should raise the flap, do the osseous recounting, and place the flap again.
Answer to your question. Lasers, Dr. Richa, lasers and electrocautery release a lot of heat. Avoid using them when you need the bone countering. Just bone cannot be removed with cautery, yes ma'am, but can be done with hard tissue laser. Yes, there are again two lasers, soft tissue and the hard tissue, the diode lasers and all. If only the soft tissue recountering is there, then okay, but hard tissue, you need to have a special lasers for that, which are very expensive. If you can afford and do, then well, it is good according to the patient needs, your requirements and all. I'm clear now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Kishori.
Thank you so much.
I hope everyone has learned so much today. And sorry for me from my side that I have been disconnected in between because of network issue. I would like to thank you, and I'm
Yeah, thank
looking forward for again excellent for a new webinar sessions with you.
sure.
And,
Okay, okay.
even Dr. Richa ma'am.
Yeah,
And
sure. I'll be telling Richa ma'am.
so I have received message also from my junior who is doing a
Oh,
periodontology.
great, great.
He said you have given so much so knowledgeable webinar today. It was
Thank
really
you
very
so much.
informative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. So everyone's doubt is clear. I
I
think
thank
everyone is
you,
saying
ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you
Uh,
so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for patience listening. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we are out of time now.
Yeah.
So
9 o'clock.
let's, yeah,
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
Sure.
Let's end this. Thank you very much. So we'll end this
Yeah.
webinar now.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
everyone.